So this is episode 6 of the 5D Spiritual Warrior podcast. We're here with our first ever guest, Eric. What's up, my friend?
And happy to be here.
As always, we got Sean, right?
And we're very excited, very happy to have our first guest here.
Exactly. Yeah. One of hopefully many more.
Great.
We're going to be talking about a whole lot of things: spirituality, meditation, mental clarity. And I definitely want to hear about your experience out in Sedona and like how you got introduced to spirituality and what it's done for you. So if you want to start talking maybe about how you got introduced to spirituality and what path it's led you on.
Yeah, so my spiritual awakening, I would say, started in high school when I was experimenting with various psychedelics or plant medicines. And when I was like 16, I took like 0.5 grams of mushrooms with some my friends. And it was towards the end of the year. I think my friend just graduated high school. We were just throwing down. We went in the woods. And that was a really interesting experience. Things really opened up. And it was almost like I was wearing like the 3D glasses where you kind of have like the red and the blue lens on everything. And it just kind of looked like 3. It was very interesting.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. It kind of opens you up to that like ether, the energy that's around.
Right. Seeing more. And so that really opened me up. And then taking psilocybin like several other times, I had some really deep experiences. And that essentially I started to put things in perspective and really see like where I fit into like the bigger scheme of things. And I distinctly remember one time being in my room, kind of in a meditative state, on like probably a small dose of psilocybin, and I just like felt so insignificant in a way. I was like, here I am in this moment, in this like spot in this room, and right now, like throughout the cosmos, is this whole other like. Just so much else is going on, and yet I'm limited to this one spot on the like grand scheme of things. It really put things in perspective. It's like, oh wow, like there's a much more vast world out there than the experience that we go through day to day. It's very limited.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And I mean, you see that through psilocybin experiences and like meditation. I know personally, like you just feel that sense of oneness and how minuscule you are in the universe, but like how important and an integral part you are to that same universe and like functioning and everything. And I think it's super interesting. I love that.
Then from there, so I worked with like a shaman. I think I was like 21, and around that time, or a little bit before, I'd gone through a period of depression for like 3 months. And I'd been, ever since I was like 18, I'd been pretty consistent with my health practices, started learning how to like take care of my body, mind, body, and spirit. But I guess at some point around 21, I kind of like fell off the wagon a little bit. And I got depressed. And what helped me through that was I remember one day waking up, and I was like, I'm going to work out. And I didn't really feel like doing anything. I was like apathetic. I just felt like not doing anything. I just felt sad. And I worked out, and I just felt like amazing. All the endorphins kicked in. And then after that, I ate like a healthy meal, and I was like, oh, and then I just felt great again. And I was like, stop doing that. But that experience was vital to go through that, to have the perspective, because prior to that, I didn't really have a lot of compassion for people in that situation. I was like, whatever, they're just like being sensitive, overly sensitive or whatever. But then I really was in the depression, and I knew like what it felt like. So having that short framework gave me, opened my doors to like, oh, okay, this is like a real thing. People are going through this, and it's really challenging. But also there are ways to get out, and they're pretty simple and accessible to most people.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. You kind of got to hit rock bottom at some point to kind of start paving your path up, right? And
right.
If I could ask, how old are you now? You said you were 21 when that happened. How old are you now?
25. And
okay,
so
cool.
To carry that forward into the rest of my spiritual awakening, I worked with like a shaman around, maybe I was 22. And he aligned with me. He did a power animal retrieval, and he went and he grabbed like an alligator. And like the alligator came to him and was like, he wants to work with me. And he shared the characteristics of the alligator which is like they're really still and they kind of sit back and wait and they're ready, but like when the time is right, they pounce and they like strike hard. And I really resonated with that because I was always, as a kid, a little more introverted, and I would kind of, even at like party scenes, I would really scope things out and kind of just witness like what was going on, but not so much intertwine myself into it. And he worked with me actually on something in regards to that. It was a program in my psyche that when I had a trauma around 3 years old, I was attacked by a dog. And the story that I came up with at that time was to watch, not do, because I got involved with the dog and the dog was playing and it bit me. And so my inner child developed this story to keep it safe that was like, watch, don't do. And so for the majority of my life, I played out that story of watch, don't do. So I would watch, observe, but I would not participate. And the participation, as I've learned as I've matured, is like a huge part of life and the experience. And so moving that forward, even I was at a beach with my family, and it was a very intense weekend. My dad actually got attacked by my mom's or my sister's dog, and it was like pretty bad. They had to get like the paramedics, and he was like, had to get stitched up. So there's a lot of tension in the house with my family on this beach trip. And I would go out every night and I would like smoke a little bit of cannabis and I would do my Tai Chi. At this time, I was just starting my Tai Chi journey and it was starting to practice consistently. And I'm practicing Tai Chi on the beach every night and it would ground me and I would feel really good. On the final night I was at the beach, it was a full moon. And I was practicing my Tai Chi like I had been, and I just started to feel all this energy through my whole body. And it was like all this life force just building up, first in my hands, and it spread. And I just felt like this radiant energy. And after that, I meditated for a little bit. And when I opened my eyes, there was an alligator in the, like just sitting there, not that far from me in the beach. And I was out there at like midnight because at that time I was like self-conscious and I thought the Tai Chi was weird. So I wouldn't want to do it in public, which now I do. But yeah. And I was like going out late at night so I could be like all stealth. But yeah, there was an alligator and I knew immediately. I like connected with it and I was just like, wow, like, that shaman thing just came full circle. And since that time, like I've had so many amazing synchronicities like that. And it, the world showing me that there's much more to it than meets the eye. And my yeah, so that's basically that story. And then trying to think, there was another, so a few years later I went to one of my friend's birthday parties. He was having like a little get together type deal, and I remember when I walked in, they were like essentially talking shit about me because I was into some esoteric things. And it was kind of funny. The thing they were talking shit about me for was because I studied with Paul Chek in the Chek Institute, and in HLC 1, he suggests holding your phone near your arm and kind of going through your auric field and seeing if you can feel it. And the phone puts off a strong frequency, so I was able to feel it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like I can feel it in my field moving around. It has like a weird frequency to it. So I shared this with my friends, and long story short, they were like, oh, Eric's like going off the deep end, all this and that. And so I was like genuinely hurt, this is a friend I was close to, and it kind of felt like I was backstabbed in a way. But that night I went and I knew when I got home, I wanted to meditate and like just breathe and be in nature. And so that's what I did to process all that energy. I had gathered that tool from my like when I was younger, that just moving, being out in nature, breathing, you can clear out any of the emotion and kind of just process it. And so what happened when I was out there is it was almost like the tree like greeted me, and I was just there breathing and doing my meditation. I felt this energy, this connection of another being in my presence, and it was just like so much love from the tree. And I turned to another tree and I felt that energy, and then there was just like this exchange. It was like a communication, but there was no words being exchanged. It was all frequency, and it was a vibration I could feel in my body. And so that was like one of the, really deep things happened to me that I was like, whoa, like there's really something to this spirituality.
That's crazy. And that has like the oneness of the universe, kind of understanding that like the universal soul and just how, you develop and you go on a journey. Like we're just on a soul's journey to eternity right now. And
Right.
yeah.
And if you look back, you can see there's like points, and you were always meant to hit these points, and they were always meant to like prepare you for the journey ahead.
You mentioned Tai Chi. Are you do more like meditative movement and stuff like that? Because I know I've been getting into Qigong, and I go to Mama, so I'm right by the beach in New Jersey. And like you said, like I was kind of shy doing the Qigong in front of people at first. I'd be moving and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
people be looking at me. You have any tips or any other things you like to talk about like the meditative movement, or maybe just because I know you hang out with Troy too, and he's all about like movement is health and wellness.
Movement medicine.
Movement is
Yeah.
medicine, exactly.
Well, movement is such a vital, part of our human experience here, because we have all these systems and fluids and all this stuff going on in our body. But if we're not moving, it becomes stagnant. And ancestrally, we were always moving, no matter what goal you had in the community. Unless like crippled, you always you're doing something engaging, usually with your hands. And this movement pumps the lymph, pumps all the fluids, gets nutrients flowing through the body so you can heal. If you have injuries, a lot of times people will avoid the area because it's in pain, but actually want to restore movement to the area. Now there's, depending on the situation, there's a process to that. But if you can, without reasonable pain, even just moving a joint through its range of motion and pumping it will get nutrients to it so it can heal. And then from the meditative perspective, like Tai Chi has been my favorite, because I really feel it cultivate a lot of energy in my being, and you have to be like really fully present with the Tai Chi to be able to be in that middle ground between strength and stability and through the movements, but also like ease and effortlessness. Like when I drop into my meditations, it's like I'm floating through an energy soup. And I'm not having to move anything. The energy is moving through me. This is why Troy will say, Tai Chi does him now. It's like, eventually it gets to the point and the energy is just moving through you. And these practices are important because a lot of people are working out, and, a lot of fire energy, a lot of go action. Our whole society is all revved up. But we need the yin energy, that cooling, calming, feminine, reset to create balance. And that can be found through these meditative practices. And Tai Chi is working so you're generating energy in the body systems. If you do it consistently they recommend doing a gong, which is a 100-day practice without missing a day. And that's kind of how, that's what changed my life, because that opened me up to subtle energies. And to share another story in regards to spirituality, as I did this, after I did my first gong, I started to feel subtle energy very strongly in my hands. I could feel energy, and I actually started learning about energy medicine. And I would practice on a cat who he's no longer with us, but it was like a deep soul contract I had with him, where he taught me how to do energy medicine, which was beautiful. And since then, I've started working with people and all these things.
So is that the like Reiki healing is like essentially what you're
similar, but I didn't study like the Reiki system. A lot of what I do is more intuitive and working with the higher self of the individual or the being that I'm working with. And so the thing with energy healing is, and I've experienced this, no one can heal you. You can only heal yourself. And so any like real healer, because I'm in Sedona right now, there's a lot of foo healers out there, and there are good ones there too. But yeah, any real healer is working not with their ego, but working with your higher self to give you whatever is like necessary for you at this time in your development.